1910, arrived like the opening of a nightmare. Morning had been eerily calm, a deceptive stillness that fooled even seasoned woodsmen. But just after noon, the winds came. They roared down mountain passes, tearing through canyons, bending tall pines until they cracked and splintered. Within hours, everything changed. The small, scattered fires that had burned all summer suddenly fused into one vast, uncontrollable inferno. Historians would later calculate that nearly 8 billion board feet of timber were consumed. But for the men, women, and children on the ground, numbers meant nothing. All they knew was that the world had turned into fire. A sky gone mad, eyewitnesses wrote that the sky turned the color of blood. The sun disappeared behind a curtain of ash. At midday, it was so dark that people lit lanterns just to see their hands. One man recalled that birds fell dead from the sky, their lungs scorched by smoke. Horses bolted blindly, crashing into trees or tumbling over cliffs. Dogs howled until they were silenced by the flames. The fire created its own weather. Giant columns of heat rose into the heavens, twisting into tornadoes of flame. Sparks and burning branches were carried miles through the air, igniting new blazes far ahead of the fire's front. In some places, the winds reached 70 miles per hour, faster than any man could run. To those who lived it, it felt less like a wildfire and more like the end of the world. Towns in peril. Dozens of small frontier towns lay in the fire's path. Places like Wallace, Avery, Taft, and DeBorgia, railroad camps, logging settlements, and mining communities were suddenly at risk of total destruction. In Wallace, Idaho, people awoke to find a wall of flame advancing toward their homes. Families loaded wagons, grabbed children, and ran for the train station. Entire streets dissolved into chaos. The mayor ordered an evacuation, and trains packed with desperate residents chugged away through smoke so thick that passengers choked and coughed as they fled. Some made it, others never did. In Avery, a similar scene played out. The flames reached the edge of town, burning warehouses, rail yards, and homes. But against all odds, Avery survived, thanks to the courage of firefighters who built last-minute defenses and a railroad crew who held the line with dynamite blasts to clear fuel from the fire's path. But many smaller camps simply vanished. Places with no newspapers, no photographers, no wealthy families to record them were erased, leaving nothing behind but ash. The Rangers' desperation for the Rangers, the nightmare was beyond anything they had been trained to handle. Some ordered their crews to retreat into rivers, standing waist-deep in freezing water, while the flames roared overhead. Others dug frantically into hillsides, burying themselves in shallow trenches and covering their bodies with wet blankets. One ranger, Ed Pulaski, found himself with 45 men trapped in a canyon outside Wallace. The fire surrounded them, cutting off every escape. In desperation, Pulaski led them into an abandoned mine shaft. Inside, the air grew foul, smoke pouring in like poison. Some men panicked, screaming they would rather die in the open than suffocate in the dark. Pulaski, pistol in hand, threatened to shoot the first man who tried to flee. For hours, they lay in the darkness, choking, praying, listening to the fire rage outside. When dawn came, most were alive, though 5 had perished. Pulaski himself collapsed unconscious, his eyes permanently damaged by smoke. He would be remembered forever for saving his crew and the firefighting tool that bears his name. The Pulaski axe would become a symbol of grit and survival. The human toll. Across the region, hundreds were less fortunate. At least 86 people officially died, though historians believe the true number was much higher. Many were immigrant laborers, names never recorded, their stories lost in the flames. Some were found days later, their bodies huddled in groups where they had tried to shield one another from the fire. Others were never found at all, simply consumed by the blaze. Entire livelihoods disappeared, mines collapsed, logging camps with months of work were erased in hours. Families who had dreamed of prosperity in the West found themselves destitute, their homes nothing more than piles of ash. A nation finally notices only when the scale of the disaster became clear did the rest of the United States begin to pay attention. Newspapers that had buried fire stories on page 6 suddenly splashed headlines across the front page. Northwest in flames. Towns destroyed by firestorm. The West calls for aid. Suddenly, the far-off wilderness that most Americans had ignored became a matter of national concern. Was the Forest Service capable of protecting the nation's forests? Could the government justify its funding? Or had the grand conservation dream of Roosevelt and Pinchot gone up in